Welcome to the chip market, where we help you invest smarter in the world of chips. You know, the AI boom has turned companies like NVIDIA into absolute giants. But that's not the whole story. The real foundation of this entire revolution, well, that's being built much deeper in the supply chain, often out of the spotlight. So today, we're going to look past the headlines and analyze 10 small-cap semiconductor companies that have some really unique AI potential. We'll rank them, break down their specific angles, and then put it all together to construct a model portfolio.
All right, here's our game plan. First, we'll talk about why you should even care about small-cap AI stocks. Then, I'll show you the exact framework we use to rank them. After that, it's the main event, our countdown of the 10 companies, from 10 all the way to number 1. And finally, we'll see how you could build a portfolio out of this list and wrap up with the biggest takeaways for you as an investor. So let's just jump right in. In a market totally dominated by titans, why on earth would an investor look at small caps? Look, everybody knows NVIDIA, right? But the AI ecosystem is incredibly complex. It depends on this huge supply chain of specialized materials, unique equipment, and critical intellectual property. And that's exactly where the small caps live. They're the ones quietly building those foundational layers. You could say they're selling the picks and shovels in this new gold rush.
The big idea here is what we call asymmetric risk/reward. These little guys aren't trying to become the next NVIDIA. They're specialists. They're laser-focused on solving one specific, critical problem and doing it better than anyone else. This makes them incredibly nimble and innovative in these niche areas that the big players might just ignore. If they pull it off, the upside can be massive, and they become these essential enablers, the companies making the specialized packaging or the power-efficient parts that the big guys absolutely have to have.
Okay, but we have to be brutally honest about the risks. This is the wild side of the market. These stocks are, by their very nature, volatile. They have lower liquidity, which just means it can be tough to buy or sell a lot of shares without moving the price. And here's the big one. Many of these companies haven't even made a profit yet, or their business models are totally unproven. There's a very real risk they could just fail to make their vision a reality. So doing your homework here is absolutely paramount. Okay, so how do you find the gems in all that noise? Well, we've put together a structured framework to evaluate these companies. This isn't about throwing darts, it's a methodical approach. We scored every single company on a scale from 0 to 10 across 4 key areas. First up, AI exposure. How tied is their product to the AI boom? Is it direct or indirect? Second, financial health. What do their books look like? Are they burning through cash or are they actually making money? Third, moat strength. What's their competitive advantage? Is it a patent, unique tech, a sticky customer base? And finally, growth potential. How big is their market, and do they have a realistic shot at capturing a piece of it? And here's how we weighted those factors. We gave direct AI exposure the biggest slice of the pie at 30%. That's the whole point of this analysis, after all. Financial health and moat strength are right behind, tied at 25% each. Because let's face it, a brilliant idea doesn't mean much without a sustainable business to back it up. And growth potential gets the last 20%. Okay, with that framework in place, it's time for the countdown. Let's start with number 10 and work our way up to our number 1 pick. Kicking things off, we have our most speculative bets. At number 10 is SmartChem. They're working on organic inks for chip packaging. It's a super niche technology, but it could be really important for next-gen AI hardware. The big red flag? It's a tiny nanocap company with almost no revenue. So this is a very, very early stage bet. Number 9 is Resolve AI. They have a Gen AI platform for e-commerce, but their valuation is just way out of line with their revenue. You're betting entirely on future hype, not current performance. And at number 8, we've got Atomera. Their technology is a special film designed to make processors better. It's a fascinating idea, but they're pre-revenue. Their whole future depends on getting the big chip foundries to say yes. All 3 of these are classic high-risk, potential high-reward plays.
All right, moving up a tier to our satellite players. These are companies with more established businesses, but they still face some pretty big hurdles. At number 7, Right Tech Robotics, which makes AI service robots for hotels and restaurants. Cool idea, but the market is brand new and they are burning cash fast. Number 6 is Autoscope. They use AI to analyze traffic systems for cities. It's a practical application, for sure, but the revenue is tied to government budgets, which can be really unpredictable. At number 5, Amtech Systems. They make something called reflow ovens, which are critical for advanced AI chip packaging. But they're in a crowded space, and demand goes up and down with the whole semi-industry. And rounding out this group at number 4 is GSI Technology. Their in-memory compute tech is really promising for AI tasks like vector search, but they're in a true David versus Goliath fight against giants with incredibly deep pockets.
And now we're cracking the top 3. Coming in at number 3 is NVIDIA Semiconductor, a company that's all in on next-generation power semiconductors.
So what makes Navitas so interesting? They have direct validation from the undisputed king of AI, NVIDIA. Navitas is supplying advanced power devices using materials like gallium nitride and silicon carbide for NVIDIA's most powerful AI systems. Now, why is this a big deal? AI data centers are ridiculously power-hungry. Technologies like the ones Navitas makes are absolutely essential for making them more efficient. Better efficiency means less heat, lower costs, and you can pack more computing power into the same space. This partnership puts Navitas right at the center of the AI infrastructure build-out.
Our number 2 pick, CEVA, plays the game a little differently. They don't actually make chips themselves. Instead, they design and license the intellectual property, the core blueprints, that companies like Apple and Samsung need to build their own custom chips.
CEVA's real strength is its incredible IP moat. They license out essential tech like digital signal processors and, really important for us, their NeuPro AI cores. These are designed specifically for AI on smart edge devices. We're talking smartphones, cars, all kinds of sensors. This gives them a really broad exposure as AI moves out of the data center and into everything else. The main risk, though, is that their revenue comes from royalties. So if smartphone sales take a nosedive, their bottom line gets hit directly. It's a bit of a cyclical business. And that brings us to our number 1 ranked company, Cambricon Technologies, one of China's top designers of artificial intelligence chips.
Cambricon's big advantage is its role in China's huge push for semiconductor independence. They're making chips like the CUN590, which is a direct competitor to NVIDIA's A100 GPU. The company is perfectly positioned to capture a massive amount of domestic demand for AI chips, but the risks here are just as massive. First, they're on the US Entity List, which limits their access to cutting-edge manufacturing. Second, they face brutal competition right at home from giants like Huawei and a ton of other well-funded rivals. It's a high-stakes bet on a protected but also fiercely competitive market.
And there you have it, our complete countdown. As you can see from the final scores, Cambricon, CEVA, and Navitas clearly floated to the top. They're driven by their direct AI relevance and just more solid business models. From there, the scores step down as we get into companies with more financial risk or a less direct link to AI, all the way down to those really speculative plays at the bottom.
So, ranking stocks is one thing, but how would you actually put this into a strategy? Let's walk through what a hypothetical model portfolio might look like.
We've built this portfolio in 3 layers. The core, at 45%, is where we put our highest conviction ideas from this list. The satellite holdings at 35% are for companies with interesting niche plays, but also higher risk. And finally, the diversifiers, making up the last 20%, are the real long shots. The speculative bets where a small position could see huge returns, but where you also have to be comfortable with a high chance of losing it all.
And here's exactly who goes where. The core is built around our top 3, Cambricon, CEVA, and Navitas, each with that strong direct connection to the AI hardware world. The satellite bucket gets GSI Tech, Amtech, Autoscope, and Rich Tech, covering those important niche areas. And finally, the diversifiers are our 3 most speculative names, Atomera, Resolve AI, and SmartChem. The whole idea with this tiered structure is to balance your conviction with calculated shots on early-stage tech, which helps manage the overall risk.
So after all that, what are the big ideas you should walk away with?
First, AI exposure isn't just one thing. It can be anything from a direct AI chip designer like Cambricon to an indirect materials company like Atomera. Second, financial health is your most important filter here. Most of these companies aren't profitable, which means they need to keep raising money to grow. Third, a strong competitive advantage, that moat, usually comes from deep intellectual property, just like we saw with CEVA. And finally, the growth story for every single one of these companies depends entirely on whether they can execute their plan and get the market to adopt their tech.
And that really brings us to the final and most important question for any tech investor. How do you personally balance the incredible promise of a new technology against the cold, hard reality of financial stability? How you answer that is going to define your entire strategy in this exciting but very demanding market. Thank you for joining us here at the Chip Market. If you found this analysis useful for investing smarter, please share it with someone else who might, and definitely subscribe for our next breakdown of the chip industry. We'll see you then.